AI can be used both for and against, meaning you can take the bad actors are leveraging AI to find the weaknesses in organizations to exploit those. But from your clientele side, from our clientele side, there's actually you can look at this from two ways. You can take a proactive approach and leverage AI to get ahead of it, or quite honestly, it could be used as a defensive approach to try to respond to a breach. And David, you had mentioned two things. One, this really is a programmatic approach, which means, from my standpoint, if I'm listening correctly, this is in manageable steps that have that evolve to get to that desired end game. That you're looking to get to a business outcome, but you can't just swallow it all at once. It has to be in a very manageable way. Is that correct? Would both of you agree, Chris and David?
Yeah, it's tough to win games by only hitting home runs, right? We want to have that layered approach where there's a secure foundation and we can properly build and scale upon, right? And that comes in both sides of the house here as far as identifying the right use cases, using the ROI we get from those original use cases to self-fund the program to start to build off and branch out. But again, to Chris's point, doing so securely from the beginning. We don't want to jump ahead to find out that we have these security concerns that we should have addressed before. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything, starting with a great foundation and working our way up towards success. This is not an overnight thing. If you just swing for the fences with AI, it's not going to work. You have to be very thoughtful about how you approach it.
So, gentlemen, I'm going to change tact on you a little bit. On August 12th, CRN had published an article, and I'm going to read it directly to make sure I don't miss the title. MSPs are driving AI adoption, but security and data hurdles persist for customers. So it's a two-part question. Chris, we'll start with you on this. Are you getting these questions? Are you fielding these questions? I know that we've touched on it a little bit here, but from a specific standpoint, I know that CyberSecOp was very good at making sure that this article was published out, and it was really as a public service message for those who are already engaged in these types of activities and with our partner Lydonia. So are you getting those questions directly and both indirectly?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely getting the questions. The article was great, and it raised a lot of eyebrows and interest. And I think for the way we look at it, there's really three swim lanes around the AI and automation piece. One of them is what we're talking about with Lydonia is how do we take advantage of it? How do we leverage AI and automation for the greater good, right? To minimize errors and anomalies and speed, efficiency, and create operational benefit. The other side is what do we end up doing that would sit down and be protective? How do we sit down, if we know the threat actors are using it, what can we do to sit down and become more defensive? And then the final one is really how do we leverage it, not just CyberSecOp, but other security companies, how are they infusing AI inside of what their tools do to sit down and make them better, right? So things like automating things like patch management and malware filtering and data analyzation or looking for anomalies more quickly. All of those are things that can be done and are starting to happen and getting infused in solution sets right now. So that's that third swim lane of the technology is just getting better. It's going to be faster. It's going to have less errors and more value to the customer more quickly. But that's how we're kind of seeing it in three different conversations. And in many cases, there's different people you're talking to about each one of those swim lanes. The groups that Lydonia and CyberSecOp are talking about for automation AI for the greater good and operational stuff sometimes is different, but under the umbrella of the CISO or potentially the CIO.
Gotcha. Chris and David, you had mentioned that, again, through our conversations, that what you're trying to do from a Lydonia standpoint, you are addressing these concerns, but you're trying to address them a couple different ways, whether through upfront conversation, through engagement models. Can you just take us through a little bit your thoughts on that article specifically, and then and how you've incorporated that into your day-to-day process?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that strategic and programmatic approach. Very old saying, garbage in, garbage out. If we're dealing with bad data and we try to automate it, the only input is bad data, we're going to have a bad result. So as we think through this, a lot of times we have to make sure we have everything in the right place. What we've noticed is over the past, however, 5, 10, however many years you want to call it, as companies continue to grow, companies continue to boom, really, there was never a clear strategy on how to handle all of this influx of data. So oftentimes we're talking with really every other conversation we're having is, I have all these different data sets, I have this over here, I have this over there, I can't do what I need to do. And if we don't have the data clean, structured in under one roof, it's very difficult for us to do anything right from an automation or AI perspective. And I think that's the biggest misconception or the most hidden thing is AI is great, but it only works if your data is where it needs to be. So a lot of times that's going to be one of the first steps we take. Get it in one place, get it in the format we need, cleanse it, structure it, map it, whatever needs to happen, so that going forward, again, back to that programmatic approach, going forward, it's much easier to scale up. But again, when it's all over the place, it becomes much more difficult. The cost goes up, the ROI goes down. So data is absolutely critical to anything you want to do with automation and AI.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So again, we'll go back to a couple things that we talked about. Is the idea of uptasking the staff, having that staff that is the high value, high dollar staff focusing on the tasks that are associated with what they really should be focused on versus the more mundane tasks that you can drive automation and let AI learn to do with validation from those that set of employees. And then the idea of the evolution that comes with that. So I think those are all critical points. So we're going to move over to a use case. It's a use case that from a cybersecOps perspective, we actually have a program that helps organizations with their vendor management requirements. And I know Ladonia has actually worked on some of these as well. So the use case we're going to focus on is vendor management. We selected for a number of reasons. And what we'd like to do is focus the next part of the conversation on the ROI for such use case. And then, Chris, we'd like you to kind of heavily focus on that security and compliance implications that are associated with outside vendors. I know you had mentioned an incredible stat that has not changed. If anything, the percentages are going up. That over 84% of all breaches and cyber incidents are due to human error, and that could be largely accidental, but there's probably a piece of it that is purposeful. So let's talk about this a little more. David, can we talk a little bit about, from a vendor management perspective, the idea of adding automation and driving an AI solution in? How does that help the ROI?
Yeah, I think when we talk about vendor management, it starts with onboarding all the way through the full life cycle. And I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, at some point in time have been either side of the fence where you're either trying to get onboarded or trying to get a vendor onboarded, or whatever the case may be. It's a very tedious task. It's very repetitive. It requires a lot of information, a lot of back and forth, email attachments, taking things down, storing them, saving them, moving them from place to place, manipulating data, going back, trying to find something that was maybe missing, right? All of these different things that we're talking about, this is that swivel chair work I was referring to. This is that copy and paste, that pull, that screen clicking motion, where you'd rather have your procurement team or whoever it is, your lines of business, not spending their time trying to work through this stuff. You want them addressing more critical things, right? So there's, back to that case I mentioned before, there's got to be a hard dollar and a soft dollar savings here. So the hard dollar can be the reduction in the FTE's time. So instead of them, again, slamming their keys, copy, paste, they're actually doing things that make money for the business. But then the soft dollar side to this is, well, what am I gaining in terms of revenue generation? How do I speed things up? How can I scale without growth? All these other things. So there's the two sides to the house. But when we think about vendor onboarding, vendor management, this is exactly the perfect type of use case for something like automation.
Great, thanks. Thank you for that. Chris, your thoughts as it relates to vendor management, in two parts, from the automation AI piece, as well as that security and compliance implications, how an AI or an automation-based solution can help drive compliance.
Yeah, I'll flip the answer. So from a compliance perspective, we're leveraging AI to actually make an automation to make a quicker assessment for our clients on their key vendors, both critical and even non-critical. Non-critical might mean that they're not critical to the manufacturing aspect or something like that. That doesn't really change the fact that if in fact a virus came through or malware came through the critical or non-critical, it wouldn't have the same impact, right? So realistically, we have a watermark that we're sitting down and assessing each one of the organizations that are coming in. So now, as part of your rubric, when you're choosing a partner, you're making sure that they carry at least the same or similar methodology and culture around security. The AI aspect of it is actually automating a lot of the awareness that's going on. We're using it for pushing out questionnaires, collecting information, scrolling through all that data to sit down and look for anomalies or challenges with the responses that are coming in. We're also doing compliance testing of those third-party partners, whether that be in the form of attack surface or ransom susceptibility analysis, to see how capable that organization is to protect itself from the outside, knowing that if they are able to protect it, then they're protecting it for the benefit of the company that David might be representing. If they are just porous as hell, then it's a common sense reality that it would just kind of be a pass-through, that they're kind of could become a carrier. When you look at it kind of in the automation piece directly, it's a matter of actually, we have customers that have upwards of 8,000 vendors. So not everybody's only got 5, 10, or 20. They might have hundreds, and not just because there's clerical errors that there's 3 of the same one in their database. It's just what they carry for larger organizations. So to sit down and actually try to do either some level of consolidation while you're raising the watermark on expectations of that, that's really what's necessary, to sit down and make sure that you're looking at that organization to carry the same care and concern and investment that you are in security, to make sure that they're not creating a problem that is unintended, that is some kind of fine print problem inside of a contract.
And just to kind of piggyback off that, Chris, you brought up something important that goes back to the data side. Oftentimes when we're working with companies around this vendor management, anything to do with vendors, they'll have 4 or 5 different records for the same company. It could be Chris Eula Partners, Chris Eula Inc., Chris Eula LLP, and then that sounds like one problem on its own, but then when you actually think about the people on the day-to-day who are going to invoice or do something, they don't know which record to pull. They don't know. So now you have invoices going to the wrong people, the wrong information. It creates all these different downstream problems. So the ability to kind of consolidate that, cleanse that, and then apply automation really does drive value in a number of different ways.
Or even getting a spoofed bill from something that looks like something it's supposed to be, right? So see that over and over again. We picked up a client that a threat actor actually intercepted an email and just with a Adobe Pro changed the phone number and the account number and had over $400,000 redirected to them. And when they called to verify, yes, is this the right number? Yes, it was, because it was their phone number they were calling. So, and that's with simple Adobe Pro. It wasn't a sophisticated win, but it was $418,000 that was gone the moment they hit send, right? And they didn't find out for 45 days, and they were saying, we need some help. It's like, that money's gone. So realistically, there's a lot of double checks, and the more that we can leverage the automation AI to see the anomalies, to see the difference, and the fact that that is not the correct, direction, that is not the account number that was used previously, all that kind of stuff where, yes, they might be on the human checklist and it got missed or someone's covering, but now if we're doing it in a more systemic way and we're having it built into the program, that's happening with 0 fault, and at least we're catching more sooner if in fact we're preventing it from happening 100%.